this is rental car number 39, and today I'm driving the 2017 Audi Q5. This is definitely one of the nicest rental cars I've driven in quite a while, and I can easily say that if I had an extra $40,000 to $45,000 laying around, I would absolutely buy this car. So do me a favor and watch this video about 10,000 more times so that I can actually afford a car like this. And while you're doing that, why don't I tell you a little bit about this car. This is a German-made, compact, luxury crossover SUV. Calling a vehicle a crossover is really just a fancy way of saying that it's been built on a car frame. So crossovers generally drive a lot more like sedans than they do a big pickup truck. And that is completely true about this car. It is very, very smooth on the road and it's super comfortable. It comes with a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine that gives you about 220 horsepower and a nice 20 miles per gallon in the city and 27 on the highway. The wheels you're looking at right here are the standard wheels on the Q5. They're 18-inch, 5 double-spoke dynamic design wheels. This is the first year of Audi's refresh of the Q5, and I think they've done a really nice job. This is a beautiful looking car, both inside and out. Audi has also done a nice job with safety. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration gave this car a 4 out of 5 in all categories. And the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety also gave it a good score in all categories, which is their top mark. The critics, unfortunately, have not been as kind. Edmunds gave this car a 4.3 out of 5, Motor Trend gave it a 3.5 out of 5, and the Car Connection, a smaller publication, gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I completely disagree. Maybe I'm just not used to driving luxury cars. Typically I rent something like a Hyundai Sonata, but I drove this car for over 4 days, put almost 500 miles on it, and I absolutely love the Q5. I think a good way to explain why I love this car so much is to jump into the driver's seat and sort of show you some of my favorite features. Now, right away when you jump into this car, it is clear that this is a luxury vehicle. Everything is designed really well, and the materials they use are top-notch. The leather, especially around the steering wheel, is super soft. As soon as you touch it, you know you're absolutely in a luxury vehicle. The ride is also super quiet, so I went down the highway averaging speeds around 70 to 80 miles per hour, and I could easily have a conversation with everyone in the vehicle, and we could even listen to something on our iPad without having to turn the volume up all the way. The key fob on this vehicle is really nice. It has a great weight to it and only has 3 major buttons: lock, unlock, and then open the trunk. There's also an actual key hidden inside this unit. You just press the small button on the back and it slides out pretty easily. The remote start feature is actually down on the dash right here. It's just a single press of a button and the car boots up pretty quickly. You also get an electronic parking brake, so you just need to pull up on this small little switch and the brake will engage for you. I love having both of these features right next to the gear shift. They're super easy to reach and really easy to interact with. The steering wheel on this vehicle feels slightly smaller than most of the vehicles I've driven lately, but it also does include some very nice features on the left and right side to interact with the navigation and the entertainment features in the car. The buttons have a luxury feel to them. When you press them, it's clear that they're made out of really nice materials, and the same is true with the gauge cluster right here. All the gauges are really easy to see in both daytime and nighttime driving, and the center display is very crisp and easy to see at all times. One thing I really liked about this small display is that while you're using the navigation feature in the vehicle, it'll actually pop up with your next turn, and there'll be a small gauge on the right-hand side that sort of counts down to your next turn. So these are the controls to the left of the steering wheel for the driver. They're not the standard plastic buttons that you get in most vehicles. Everything has sort of a metal coating on it, which gives it an even nicer feel when you manipulate them with your fingers. It's really nice. And then down here, this is the button that you pull up to release the back door. The center display is also really nice. It's not the biggest out there, but it's clear that the screen is high quality. Everything is crisp and the colors are really easy to see. It's also angled just ever so slightly towards the driver, which makes it a lot easier to see while you're driving. This is also really well organized. It's super easy to sort of navigate through all the features and find all the little settings that you want to change in the vehicle. Just as an example, I hate it when I lock the car and the horn beeps, and I was able to find that setting in the menus within mere seconds. Having a nice crisp screen also makes it really easy to use the rear view camera. This one's pretty nice, and you do get sensors all around the vehicle that will beep if you get close to hitting something. So this is not actually a touchscreen. You actually use these buttons down here to interact with all the controls. You twist the dial to move the cursor around the screen, and then you press these silver buttons to interact with menu buttons. And then you have dedicated buttons right here to jump straight to navigation, straight to the menu, and so on and so forth. I was a little disappointed when I saw these initially, but it's actually really nice. Navigating through everything is super easy when you have dedicated buttons like this, and it's in a comfortable place so you don't have to reach forward to touch the touchscreen. So directly below the center display is a place where you can insert CDs and some additional slots to insert memory cards. I kind of feel like this is a waste of space. Personally, I don't own any CDs, and I've never used a memory card with any of the vehicles I've driven. But maybe that's just me. I think the reason I dislike it so much is because that wasted space forces the climate controls lower, and now they're directly behind the gear shift. Now, they're not impossible to reach or anything like that, but it is kind of annoying that the gear shift is in the way when you want to reach and control the temperature. That being said, these are probably some of the nicest climate controls I've ever used. You do get a digital display within the climate controls to tell you what temperature it is, and a pop-up screen on the top center display as well. The dials are made out of really top quality materials, and they actually click as you turn them. So for example, when you move it from 70 to 71 degrees, you get a very satisfying click as you adjust the dial. The lights around the dials also change depending on which setting you're using. So when you're adjusting the temperature, there's a blue and red light, but when you're adjusting the fan, that goes away. All in all, these are just solid climate controls, so I'll shut up about them and talk about something else. Directly below the climate controls, you get a small storage space right here, and then actually a legit cigarette lighter, something I probably haven't seen in at least 5 years in a car. Seriously, a cigarette lighter. I mean, am I the only one that's shocked to actually see this? Anyway, shifting over to the right, you get a nice sized glove box with a beautiful owner's manual case. This is a really nice leather case right here. Also wanted to mention that the entire owner's manual is actually in the center display, so you can navigate to it and read it at any time, actually on the vehicle itself. Moving over to the center armrest, again, this is made out of some really smooth and nice leather. You get a nice storage space down here. Nothing too deep and cavernous, but enough to store some odds and ends. Unfortunately, Audi made it possible to slide this armrest forward, and it slides really easily, so you end up sort of crunching your drink constantly while you're driving, something which I found just incredibly annoying. And it happens all the time. I mean, you just sort of adjust yourself a little bit in the seat, this thing slides forward, and you end up crunching your water bottle over and over again. But shifting your gaze upward, you do get some really nice controls here to operate your garage door, a really nice light that really illuminates the cabin at night, and then some additional reading lights right here, a nice dial to control the sunroof, and then a pretty sizable sunglass holder right here. The sunroof is super nice. It comes with a shade that does block out most of the sunlight and the heat, but allows a lot of natural light to come in. And when you open that shade up, it just looks gorgeous. I mean, you can just get a ton of light throughout the vehicle, and this sunroof extends to the entire roof of the cabin. And here's just a quick shot of what it looks like from the outside. I do love the Q5, but I was a little disappointed at the lack of accident avoidance technology. For example, there is no blindside detection on this car. All you do get is a small indicator light that flashes when you turn on your turn signal, which to me isn't very helpful. And at $40,000 and up, I expect blindside detection in all my cars. But enough negativity. Let's jump in the back seat so I can talk about some other positive features. You can adjust the back seats forward and backwards a couple of inches, which makes it easier to get everything comfortable. And you do have some really nice car seat anchors. They have these removable plastic pieces, so they're sort of hidden most of the time, and then if you do need to hook up a car seat, you just remove these small plastic pieces, and it makes getting to those anchors super easy. If you have small kids like I do, you know how painful it can be to take a car seat in and out of the vehicle, so it's really nice to see Audi sort of making a change to make that a little bit easier. There's also quite a bit of legroom back here. I'm 6 feet tall, and I had a good maybe 8 inches of legroom, and that's with the front seat pushed back pretty far. Your passengers also get 2 dedicated vents just for them, and then directly below there is a DC power outlet that they can connect their devices to. Unfortunately, however, there is no place to connect a USB port anywhere in this vehicle. The back seat also includes a nice center armrest, which includes a retractable drink holder. This is a nice feature, but I found it really difficult to sort of get it to collapse and stay collapsed when I wanted to put the armrest back in place. So let's move a little bit further back and talk about the cargo room in this vehicle. The Q5 does not have a third row seat, so that means you get plenty of storage space back here. And it is a pretty sizable square space, which I'm a big fan of because it means you can use all of the corners to store everything back here. There are 4 metal hooks in the back that allow you to tie things down if you want to do something like that. And then also electronic controls, which will allow you to collapse the back seat and take advantage of all of the cargo space in the Q5. There's also this nice storage space right here. Now this is where your spare tire goes, but you do have some extra room for some tools and some other odds and ends. This is kind of a nice feature to take advantage of some nice space. And then there's also electronic controls to control the back door, which I'm a huge fan of. I want to close things out by just talking about how it feels to drive the Q5. I drove this car for, I think, 4 days, well over 500 miles. We did a family road trip in this thing, and it was exceptional. It's super quiet, it's really nice around corners, and it accelerates just really smoothly. When you're driving, especially on the highway, and you accelerate really hard, you don't even feel the gears change. It's just a smooth transition from 0 to 10 miles an hour all the way up to 70 and 80. Now, I've never driven an Audi before, so I don't have much to compare this to, but I really like this car. I think I've said that probably 6 or 7 times in this video, but I actually miss driving this car. I gave it back to Enterprise about a week ago, and it's still on the lot, and I'm going to try and convince those guys to give it to me one more time. I guess this is kind of my long-winded way of saying that if the Q5 is in your price range, because $40,000 is quite a bit of money to spend on an SUV, but if you can swing it, I would highly recommend going out and taking this one for a test drive. I really don't think you'll be disappointed. Alright, so that's a 2017 Audi Q5 Quattro 2.0T. After driving this car for quite a while, you will not be shocked that I'm going to give this one 5 stars. This is a great crossover SUV. Alright, so that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time when I drive my 40th rental car.